She don't like her eggs all runny. She thinks crossing her legs is...
I see you've blinged out your hat here. You've got some pins on there.
I've got pins on here.
Mine's for the national parks in Canada. I'm a huge fan.
Nice. It matches your sweater.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a little chilly outside, but some of the parks are open year-round.
That's right. Well, we decided to put on some fun hats because people are used to looking at two heads talking. We thought this might provide a bit of levity for a very serious subject. And it is a bit of a futuristic subject too, so I have sort of I consider this to be sort of a travel to the future kind of hat.
All right.
So, or what I might need in the future hat, if all the power goes out and all those kinds of things. So, let's begin.
Well, power going out, that sounds like AI is a big user of power. We're hearing about the articles, we're seeing about the percentage, not just of the internet consumption of the percentage of electricity that we're using, but the spike right now because of AI and the data centers that need to be built. So is that part of our uh-oh for AI?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the uh-ohs for AI, as I like to say. AI. Youch. Youch, is that?
Yeah, sure.
So, entrepreneurs, we're still focused on entrepreneurs.
Yeah, what I think is people who were part of that first session where I talked about epoch and how we might stand out as job seekers or entrepreneurs in a busy world where things are being disrupted all the time. How do we stand out as people and as businesses in an era of AI while it's here?
While it's here. So here's my take on it. If you're going for a job interview, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a citizen in today's world, you have to have knowledge of and a critical lens on AI technologies. It's not enough to imagine it as like a tool like WordPress or Microsoft Word. It's not that. It's not another spreadsheet. And it certainly isn't a wonder drug or a wonder, as lots of companies are finding out right now, its impact on productivity is reported to be somewhat negligible. I, as an entrepreneur, use AI because I want to learn about it too. And of course, I teach at the university, and my students are using AI, and the university has an AI policy, as I'm sure Centennial does as well. And we're very clear about when, how, and the ethics of using AI. So it's not about not having AI, but it is about using it with your head on, with clarity, transparency, and with a critical lens. So when you're showing up to an interview, I feel like what is important is not the question, have you ever used AI? It's more about how are you thinking about AI? What has your experience with AI, created for you? How has it benefited you? What have you noticed about how it's not benefiting you? And things like that. Being really clear and very, what's the word for it? Informed about the conversation that's happening. Now, let me just mention a couple of things. Today, in the New York Times, there was an article, which we'll put in the show notes, that AI technology, this particular bubble, is actually different than the internet bubble or the electricity bubble or the small engine bubble or the steam engine bubble that happened before. It's different because for the first time, 80%, and this is an American poll,
Right.
80% of Americans polled don't like the technology. And this is not the same as people who are laggards, people who, some of us are early adopters of everything, some of us wait till the crowd clears out and then goes in there. This is about people who actively don't like the technology. And it includes all the things about it, who owns it, how it's working, how it's affecting the environment, etc. And apparently to these particular writers, this is the first time this has ever happened with a technological change. And I think that's significant. The other story I want to relay as we're thinking about AI or not, AI, Last year we had the Deloitte report, the $1.6 million health
Right.
report commissioned and paid for. The report was delivered and apparently generated by AI, which meant it had lots of hallucinations, facts that weren't facts, didn't exist, citations that never existed. And somebody paid some $1.6 million for that, and they were not happy. And one last point I'll make is we have been hearing about Amazon, and other tech companies slashing jobs, right? Or
Right.
reducing their jobs. Now, the last round of Amazon jobs that were lost was, I think it was 16,000 or 18,000. I'm trying to remember the exact number, but of course it's a 0.000% of their total workforce.
Right.
But Gardner, who actually invented the hype cycle, is a
Yeah.
technology consultant.
We've shown that many
report.
times.
Yeah, right. The hype cycle people. They put a report forward in the summer this year, looking at tech layoffs and actually analyzing whether they actually had anything to do with AI or not. And it turns out most of them had nothing to do with AI. In fact, these jobs that are announced by Google, Meta, and all these other folks, who are, by the way, big investors in AI, are oftentimes a function of just business. A unit that didn't do well, a location that didn't do well, so they shed jobs every year in some areas and then build up new areas. So we really don't know, or at least that report says that they felt that most of the jobs that were being reported as lost have very little to do with AI.
Right.
But they're calling it AI because what would you do if you were an investor AI and you want to make the point that productivity is helping you save money? You might characterize those job closures as AI driven when they're not.
All right. Well, I want to circle back to one of the interesting things we talked about, or you mentioned AI hallucinations, and maybe I'd even just say that the confirmation bias that we see as an early AI user, if it's your first time starting to use any of the chats, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever flavor you pick, at some point they make you feel like a genius. And that has led to what is framed as hallucinations in some instances. Not only are they making up false citations, but they're giving a false sense of your brilliance. It's hoping to endear itself to you by telling you what you might want to hear, but it's a worry and it's a concern for me to have students not realize that they have to be aware of their own bias as well as the bias of the engine of the AI they're using.
Yeah, especially the latter point you just mentioned, which is a Claude user might get a different output than a Perplexity user or a ChatGPT user. So that's
right. So as an early tinker of these engines myself, I rinse and repeat. I might ask Claude to give me an opinion on what Chat has output for me, and I might even role play it. Imagine I'm a editor of a magazine reviewing this assignment, or so the inconsistencies coming from within the engines and the bias to steer you out of control quickly down a rabbit hole or down into a you must be a genius hallucination can be a bit problematic. Which I want to then also link back to our students, because we both teach entrepreneurship and actively participate entrepreneurially in different ventures or enterprises. But from a student standpoint, I'm definitely seeing it being used and sometimes cited, but I've had to adjust some of the assignments to include more reflections that I ask to be genuinely written in the word voice and skill level of that student. Have you come up with a way to change your assignments for dealing with AI assistance?
I definitely try. But so far, my experience around that is this. So everybody's using AI. I think that's what everybody's playing with it, working with it. There's a few students I've had who say, on principle, they don't want to use it because they want to maximize their cognitive, cognitive development while they're at university. So that is really cool. Yeah, I have had to change my assignments now. Here's a funny story, or not so funny story.
Right.
I had a cohort of students. They were actually master's students in business school, and we had met at the beginning of the year to review the university policy, just make sure everybody's on the same page. And we also had our own class. Often, what I do is have our own class community agreement around what we think for this class. Because every discipline is different, right? Science is different than literary studies, etc. So for this class, what is our rule? And one of the rules we came up with was personal essays should not be generated by AI. That everybody in this class, master's class, can write a 800 to 1,000 word personal essay.
Sure.
Well, turns out 40% of my lovely students, and they were really lovely, used AI. And handed in 100% AI generated work. Now, how do I know that? We're not really allowed to, policy is you're not, as an instructor, you can't use an AI detection tool to argue that a student has violated the AI policy, which is a little bit, from my perspective, odd. But anyway, the reason it came up for me, and this is important, is I started noticing when I was marking these 40 papers, that a lot of them had the same structure. They weren't like copied, plagiarized in that way.
Right.
But they had this tone and this feel to it. And so I decided to check one student. But once you check one, you can't not check the others. So, because when I checked the one, it was 100%. And then I checked it on Winston AI and ChatGPT 0, and 100% both times. So then I did the whole class. And about 40% were 100%. We had 4 or 5 people at 20%, 30%, and then everybody else was 100% human. So I'm going to ask everybody watching, what would you do? What mark would you give? Right? When everybody. So I'm going to pause and let you think about that. Maybe we'll get back to it. You can put it in the chat. But I want to know, would you give those papers that were generated by AI, which sounded good, I guess, but it didn't sound like it. It didn't sound. I could tell it was flat. But definitely would have got a reasonable grade. And everybody who wrote a real piece also got a reasonable grade. But the people who wrote the real piece probably spent a lot more time writing the real piece and worrying over, grammar and stuff like that. So what would you do? And then we'll get back to, maybe we'll answer that question at the end so you can see what the class decided to do, because I put it back to them. What do you think we should do?
Right. Interesting. It makes me think of a prompt that I've used myself. Does this sound like AI slop? And AI slop was the word of the year in Australia in their National Dictionary Service. And even if you don't know at first what that is, you'll soon know, because you'll read things that just seem like one line seems to make sense, but it as a narrative doesn't really stand up. And that's a lot of the AI slop out there. And why, in that workshop we did earlier, how you can use your epoch skills to stand out in a crowded place to differentiate yourself from AI and AI generated content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think AI literacy is a key piece here. We have to be literate about it, and we have to be able to know when it's appropriate to use it and when not, and when you generate content, how to critically assess it so that you can separate hallucinations from what's real. And some examples I just want to share with you, and I encourage you to try some of these out. And even just see, like, check in with your own feelings in your own body about this. Like, what is your reaction to reading a LinkedIn post about tariffs, let's say, and you're really interested in the impact of tariffs on your sector and your business, and you read a LinkedIn post, and it's one of those longer ones, and then you run it through your AI detector, and you find out it's 100% AI generated. Then you go and check a little more, and you find out that person that you've been following for the last 3 months has generated all their posts by AI. Now, there could be some good stuff in those articles, but how do you feel about that person? And, so I think people are very attuned to not being sold a bill of goods by having people pass off their AI's work as theirs.
Doesn't feel like authentic thought leadership to me.
So see how you feel about that, and then ask yourself, should you be doing that?
Right.
Right? And I also feel like, here's another little experiment you can do, and you just mentioned it. I'll mention another story. Another person, a person I know, was going through something, and they decided to post on LinkedIn. They basically said, I wanted to ask my personified AI, you know how people give names to their own AI thing and all that, my personified AI agent to tell me how I'm feeling right now, or why I'm feeling so down right now. Uh-oh. So this person, they generated something, and this person put it on LinkedIn. And once again, when you see something like that, in this case, what I decided to do, just because I'm trying to learn about it, is I took that text and the prompt that they said they used, and I ran it through on my AI, which is supposed to know me, not this other person, right? To use, on Claude, Perplexity, and 3 others. Mm-hmm. And I got the same response, give or take, the exact wording. So that led to the question, did that person's personified AI actually know them?
Right.
Or did they statistically anticipate what the right words would be for how I'm feeling right now? And I actually did send that person the results and advised to be careful. Your AI doesn't know you.
Right.
Like, we would understand knowing to look like.
That's right.
And I really want to tell students and everybody that this is not just another new technology. We all know that. You need to try it and figure and see and have your own reaction, and think about your reaction to when you feel like you've been had. And one of the things I do tell my students is if you are going to be that person that generates 100% AI generated essay, which I also ask this question, which is, if we're all okay with you guys generating 100% AI responses to assignments, are you okay if I get AI to mark it? Because why would I want to mark your AI stuff? I can get my AI stuff to mark your AI stuff, and we can all go home.
Right.
But so I've forgotten where I was going with that. Where was I going with that, Greg? You weren't even listening, were you? We're going to cut that part out. But
we just finished talking about
what? Oh yeah. Okay. Oh right. So I wanted to go back and say I think people should play with it. If you are using it to write something, acknowledge it. Use APA and MLA citation, citation formats for AI. It's out there. It's available to everybody. Mm-hmm. And do not put your work, your name to something you didn't write. So what I'd rather see from my students is, hi, my name is Bob. I answered all your questions using Perplexity version 1 point whatever on this day. And here's the prompts I used. And this is what I generated. And then here's how I feel about what I generated.
Right.
It's not the most, it's not going to build a better brain, but I'd rather have it as transparent and honest than someone basically putting it out there as work that's been done when it's not transparent.
So that pulls it back to me for this critical thinking, which is one reason why we're dialoguing about it after the workshop we just did on Epoch and on standing out in an era of AI is the habit to too quickly use AI is going to usher in an era of cognitive laziness, and to offload that work too quickly, too often in the process might reduce our critical thinking, which is one of the 6 things that we need to help stand out and differentiate ourselves from AI. And in saying that, I also think that the early days that AI is right now, we haven't seen how it will affect us over the years. Now, the dopamine rush in my pocket of a social post being liked or reposted or retweeted or whatever it might be, we can see that has had a significant change, behavior change, pattern change, especially in young people who don't know, didn't have a world without it as they were growing up. So how will we safeguard ourselves from long-term AI use, and what will that look like? So making sure that we see it as a tool, and I think it's a useful tool, but just be cognizant about the fact that you're still the fingers and the mind that can curate the opinions about what it is generating.
Yeah, well said. And I would say this: if you're a person interested in a growth mindset, right, and wanting to grow and spend a lifetime of getting better and better, a lot of research is coming out to show that when you default to AI and you aren't struggling with the process, you're that notion of, you've heard writers say, it's a blank page, I don't know where to start, it's a blank page. But struggling through that process of getting there, and I don't know, maybe you go take a walk, maybe you have a coffee, maybe you twist the page upside down or lie under the bed to try to write something, but the struggle you go through is how your neural networks actually get built. So no struggle, no gain, no growth. So I see it as, if you're turning in something you didn't struggle with, none of those little neuron pathways, there wasn't a lot of growth happening. But if you struggled with the text and refined it the next day and worked on it, that is where you're going to get more neural networks growing, and a denser way to do that. And it also, as some of this research says, it's important to build those neural networks so that you can do that task quicker and quicker. Right? Remember when you first learned how to add?
Right.
And it was really hard, and you had to come home and go, 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, and rote memory it almost, right?
Yeah.
But now you don't have to think about it. It's just right there. So these AI cognitive sciences are saying, if all you had to do is plug it into a calculator, which we know people do now, you can never actually just retrieve it out of your head, because that thing doesn't exist in your head. And if that's done over, 30 years, what do you have in your head?
Right, the learning doesn't last as long because it's almost performative learning. You had the illusion of learning because it sounded nice, but without the struggle, it didn't embed in yourself. Yeah.
Right? And we want that because we're faster than a computer when it's embodied. If I say to you, what's 1 + 1? You don't have to pull out your phone and do this. You just know, right? And that's mastery. That's sort of a way of doing mastery. And we can't all be masters in all things. But there should be 1 or 2 areas in your life where you have a real struggle and effort to master it, so that you are better than the technology that's out there.
And developing the growth mindset to always be very active in your own learning journey is one way that we can stand out from this world of AI agents.
For
All
sure.
right. Well, I don't know that we need to go much further. Is there any last advice for recent grads, new employees? I think you had the one about having an answer ready for if you're asked during an interview. How do you use AI
Yes.
Are there any other questions like that, or in real life situations?
Yeah, well, one for sure is almost every company has an AI policy right now. And if they don't, they're working on it. And they have an AI governance committee going for sure. So it's really important for you not to think that what happens, out on the streets is what your company expects of you. So back to the Deloitte example.
Right.
A lot of the major consulting firms are putting in place AI rules, and if you're going to work for them, you got to follow those rules. And the same will go for other spaces, content producers, this and that. If you're working for a news outlet or a journalism-based content creator, and it says don't use it, we're a company that doesn't want to use AI, then don't use AI. So my point is, know the rules of the industry and the business or organization that you're working with, because they're all going to be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. So that's another critical thing, I think, to go in with if you're doing an interview. And if you're having your own company as entrepreneurs, think about what your AI governance rules are. Are you going to put out newsletter content that's 100% AI generated? And if you do, and you say at the end of your newsletter, this was AI generated, just think about how many readers you're going to get. So keep thinking about how it is actually helping you.
Right.
And be transparent about it. That would be the main things. And just have your own ethos and ethics about it. It's not a simple tool. It's not WordPress. It's not Excel. It's not a calculator.
Right.
It's something entirely different. Okay, that's a wrap there.
We're gonna spite our noses right off of our faces. Ain't be nothing but big old hearts dancing in our eyes. She thinks all of my jokes is corny. Convict movies make